Good morning. Wow. I wish you'd come with me. All the rest of the time we've been campaigning. We'd have it locked down by now. We wouldn't even be in this thing. I want to thank you all and just thank you for all the prayers and support. I'm here today without my wife, who left me by myself to go be with our daughter in D.C. She is Miss Howard, and she is being crowned officially. The coronation is today. So y'all are clapping. I said, well, you going to leave on the Sunday before the election? She said, if you hadn't convinced them by now, it ain't no saving you, so I'm going to go up here to D.C. So Tamika's not here, but I do have my sons here with me, Klein and Karsten. They are the videographers for this. I don't know how good the video is going to be, but I'm just letting them do something so they can be a part of this as well as my team. I really want to thank Pastor Huntley for the opportunity to come before you, and I'll be very brief. I know today is a sacred Sunday. It is Communion Sunday, and I don't want to step too far over that. But I do want to thank Pastor Huntley and First Lady Yolanda Huntley for all the support they've given me, not just throughout this race, but throughout the time we have been serving this community, the time that we've been volunteering in this community before I was ever in office. And so I thank them, and I thank the deacons, and I thank all the ministry leaders and all of you for being so supportive over the years. And that brings us to why we're here, because I think that we're here for a reason. And earlier the song was, I see a victory, but the battle is the Lord's. And I see a victory, but I don't see a victory just for me. I see a victory for the people. And that is the beauty of being here today, because 40 years after Dr. Richard Arrington was elected the first black mayor of Birmingham, we sit here today wondering why 40 years later we have not had someone who understood our experiences, who understood our history and our tradition in that same space, with a place that made so much history. And I think it's very important that we understand that many of those things are still in place. And so it's not just going to happen by itself. It's not just going to happen just because we say it so. The great theologian Howard Thurman said the power of prayer is only commensurate with the power of your ability to insert yourself into God's plan. The power of prayer is only commensurate with your ability to be a part of God's plan. And that was just his way of saying that you can't just put it all on God. You can't just put it all in prayer without working and without putting it in action. Don't just leave it to God. God is going to cover it, but we have to do our part. And so I want to just take a quick scriptural point, and I will take my seat, and that comes from the book of Joshua 7. I heard a pastor talk about this out of town, and I thought it was a great message for me, because he talked about the Israelites losing the battle to Ai. And he talked about the Israelites having conquered Jericho, go into a smaller village with no walls, 1,500 or so people, a group of farmers, and losing that battle. And how could the Israelites, who had been through so much, lose the battle at Ai? And after they lost the battle at Ai, Joshua and the elders went back to find out, how could we have lost to these little farmers, these country folk, these folk here who didn't have anything that we just conquered in Jericho? And God told them a statement: because you forgot how to fight. You forgot how you got to be where you are. And so don't just think that these things are going to happen just because of what happened in August 27th, or what happened with Obama, or what happened in the bus boycott, or any other historical marker you want to have. It's not just going to happen. Many of you in this church and many of your family were part of many of the struggles that we talk about and we teach our friends and kin about. It doesn't just happen because we want it to. And so it's important for us to understand that if we want the future for our community, if we want the future for our children, if we want the future of opportunity, then we have to go out and fight for it. The great abolitionist Frederick Douglass said it another way. He said, Power never concedes power without a struggle. It never has, it never will. Those points are still relevant today. And so I'm not going to sit up here and tell you and read from a script about how many times I read the Bible. I'm not going to tell you how Christian-like I am and show you how unchristian-like I can be. I'm not going to sit here and tell you through all my charity how great that makes me. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, because if I have to tell you, then there's something already wrong with that story. I ought to see it through your actions and your deeds. And so I want us to understand that what we have to do on Tuesday is very, very simple. We have to understand that it's not just going to happen through prayer. There's a time when worship service ends, and so I'm not going to extend that time much longer. But there's a time when the benediction is done, and the church is released. And at that time, it's important for us to go to work. The word that does that is amen. There's one word that signifies the end of prayer time. That is amen. And so what I'm just going to say to you today is when we say amen today, let's not forget about how we got here. Let's not forget about the struggle. Let's not assume that it's just in God's hands. Let's make sure that we take our responsibility and our part in making this vision happen and bringing the future that we want for our community and our children to fruition on Tuesday, October the 8th. And I ask certainly for your prayers. I ask for your support. But as the old preacher once told me, Steve Reed, they don't count prayers on Election Day, they count votes. Thank you very much.